Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Well of Ascension. So The Well of Ascension is book 2 in the Mistborn series, which is a fantasy series, and I read book 1 last week and I loved it and I definitely suffered with it. And if you want to see my reactions and my thoughts to that, I will link the video in the description and also up there. And after the end of that book, I was so excited, but also so scared to read this one. And yeah, it was intense. And I just want to say that there are definitely spoilers in this reading vlog. And having said that, let's get into it. Okay, so I have read up to page 326. So I've read like parts 1 and 2, and I am already 43% into the book. So that happened. And this one starts 1 year after the end of the first book. And so Elend is obviously still the king, and they still have not found the idiom that they at least thought that the Lord Ruler had. And Elend's father, who had fled when the fights started in the other book, like the noble houses started fighting, he left. And now he has brought an army and he is like surrounding the city. And also there are a lot of assassins frequently sent to kill Elend, which most of them are Mistborns, and so Vin is always the one to fight them. But we see that her idiom ends, like she has no more idiom left, and idiom is very valuable for Mistborns because it just helps them fight, because it can make them like see the future sort of. And yeah, she has no more idiom, so if she now fights with a Mistborn that does have idiom, it is very likely that she will die. So, not great. And apart from that, like everyone is very lost, and not just like our main characters, just like everyone in the world, because like the Lord Ruler is gone. They have like achieved that goal and now they don't really know what to do, like where do they go from there. And Vin is especially lost because she doesn't really know who she is. She's like having an identity crisis because she is trying to figure out if she was like the girl that she was before, like the thief that she was before, or if she is like the noble that she pretended to be in book 1. And she doesn't think that she can be both, or like that she can be whatever the fuck she wants. So she is just having a huge identity crisis. And there is also a Mistborn that is always watching her, and she calls him the Watcher. I mean, now we know who he is, but at first she didn't. And they sometimes sparred, and yeah, she just called him the Watcher.
All hail the Watcher.
And also she's studying a new metal, which they call Duralumin. Do I ever know how to say anything? No. So they're studying that, and with they, I mean mostly Vin, and she realizes that it can like burn the metals that she's already burning like way faster and just give like a boost to what they do, like if they make her stronger or if they make her like push or pull against a metal, like they just make them burn a lot more and a lot faster. So that is pretty much what that metal does. And also she's seeing things like shadows in the mists, And we learn that there are also people who are dying because of the mists. And then she starts studying the journal of the guy who was supposed to be the hero. And she learns that before the Well of Ascension thing, he also saw things in the mists. And then a second army gets there, like to surround the city. And the daughter of the leader of that army actually runs into the city because she's apparently in love with one guy from like our main crew, and she asks for asylum. And then we learn that the Watcher, his name is actually Zane, and he is Ellen's brother, but Ellen has no idea that he is his brother. And then Ellen and Vin go talk to Ellen's father because they're trying to like play both of the like armies that are surrounding them, trying to figure out how to survive and how to not give up control of the city. So they go to talk to Ellen's father, and it actually like goes, it doesn't go as well as they had hoped, but it actually goes like well enough. So, you know, they're happy, they're celebrating. And then Ellen, when they get back, he gets a letter from the assembly, which is like his council, I guess, because I mean, he's king, but he has council with a bunch of people, and they depose him. So they are going to make the choices without him. And the choices that they want to make is to just give up control of the city to Ellen's father or the other guy, but I think they're mostly want to give it up for Ellen's father so they don't have to like fight because they are pretty sure that we will lose. So that happened, and that was the last thing I read. And I mean, I am having fun, but I am mostly just waiting for the like supernatural element to be more present, like the things happening in the mists and the things that we know will come, like the bad things that the Lord Ruler said that he was protecting everyone from. Like I'm mostly waiting for that because I mean, I like politics as much as the next girl, but also like I read fantasy for, you know, the fantasy. So I am enjoying it, but I just want more of like the fantastical part of the story. And also Ellen is annoying me so much, and every time like he and Vin are together, I just want to throw the book out of the window. So that's happening as well. And I mean, he's just always trying to like compare himself to Kelsier, and like how Kelsier is such like a symbol of the rebellion, and how everyone just sees Kelsier as this almost god figure, and how much they think Kelsier is amazing and they don't think that of him. And I'm just like, dude, first of all, yes, Kelsier was iconic, way more than you, but also, what does that matter now? You know, also it reminded me of a scene from the Vampire Diaries.
Caroline, she's dead. You can stop competing with her.
Because that was literally what I was thinking, like, dude, he's dead. He's dead. Why are you trying to compete with a dead guy? I don't hate him though. I feel like it feels like I hate him. I don't. I just, first of all, I don't like him with Vin. I don't like their relationship. And he annoys me trying to like compete with Kelsier. But I don't actually hate him. He's like a decent enough guy. And also, Zane, he is, like I said, he's Mistborn. And when he's talking to Vin, he keeps telling her that like Ellen, and I mean everyone, but mostly Ellen, is using her. He doesn't just want her around because of like who she is. He's using her and he wants her around because she is a Mistborn and she's like a good tool, a good weapon. And I mean, he does want her around because she is a good weapon, but also he loves her. And also, I feel like in this situation, wanting her around also because she's a good weapon is not a bad thing. Am I crazy? I mean, you know, you can have both things. But he keeps telling her that. And then at the end of, like, when he and Vin, Ellen and Vin get back to their people after talking to his dad, he was telling everyone that he made his dad be scared of Vin because she's such a good weapon. And I was like, oh my god, she's gonna think that he only want her around because she's a weapon, and she's gonna start spiraling. But then like this part ended, so I don't know if she will, but I feel like she will. So that is happening. And yeah, that is where I'm at. I am, like I said, really enjoying it, but also really wanting for the supernatural stuff to happen more. And I do really miss Kelsier. I am not over the fact that, they killed him, but overall, still having a great time. And I will probably read parts 3 and 4, and I will update again. Okay, so I have just finished part 4. I am on page 608. And I think that the last thing that had happened at the end of part 2 was that Ellen had been deposed by his assembly. And so in part 3, they are all gathered, the assembly and Ellen and a couple more people, they all gather and they are like nominating people that they think would replace Elend should be the new king. And I mean, Elend is an option as well. And so at first there are 2 people nominated, and they are Elend and the guy called Penrod. And then someone nominates Set. And Set is one of the guys who's like surrounding the city, not Elend's father like the other one. And so like someone nominates him, and then he's there. Like he has somehow made it into the city, and he's there. And so he's also nominated for king. And then they try to, convince people on why they should vote for them, like each of them. And when they're doing that, and I mean, they're about to vote, there is an attack on seemingly all of them. Then later we learn it's not exactly all of them, but basically there is an attack. And there are elementers there, and Vin obviously fights. And she is an icon as usual, and she like kills a bunch of people, and she like it's a whole slaughter. And Ellen is looking like kind of scared, not exactly like scared of her, but like scared of what is happening. But she sees it as him being scared of her, and then obviously remembers Zane saying that he will never understand her, he doesn't know what it's like to be Mistborn and all of that. But then after everything has calmed down, they actually do have an election, and Ellen does not win, but neither does Set. Who wins is actually that other guy called Penrod. But then we learn that he won, but he was just winning to give the city to Ellen's father, who's called Straff, by the way. So he was just winning to make Straff win. And in addition to that, there is another army coming for the city. And this is the army of the Koloss. No idea if that's how you say it, but they're basically like some creatures, beasts, and they are being controlled because they're not actually that manageable. They're not that easy to control, but they are under the leadership of a guy who was Ellen's friend in book 1. And so they are also coming for the city. And Straff, like he has a plan, and his whole plan is to just pretend that he is leaving the city. So then the army of the Koloss will attack, and they will like kill everyone and like destroy the city. And then Straff will get back and win the city back and pretend to be this savior. And Ellen's friends, they realize that, and they all have a meeting in which they decide that they're going to, try to protect the city, like fight to the death to protect the city, but they have to get Vin and Ellen out of there. And they don't tell Ellen about this plan that they are pretty sure is what Straff wants to do, because like basically Ellen like would never leave the city if he knew that was gonna happen. So they don't tell Ellen or Vin. And then there is like a whole other thing going on, and that is with trying to figure out what the deepness is. And the deepness is like the thing that the hero was supposed to prevent, like the hero from the prophecy from centuries ago. And they are trying to figure out what it is, and they discover that it's in a way it's the mists, because now the mists are like killing people, and they didn't before, like before the Lord Ruler was killed. And I mean, the Lord Ruler did warn them that he was protecting them from something. And so after he died, the mists have started killing people. And so they know that the deepness is some kind of change in the mists. And someone also finds like some written stuff that the guy who created the prophecy about the hero has written. And so he thought that the guy he wrote about, he was not the Lord Ruler, but he was someone who was with the Lord Ruler, like whatever, the whole thing from book 1. He thought that he was the hero, but then he started realizing that maybe he wasn't, because there were some discrepancies. And so now Vin and Sazed, who's the guy studying that, think that Vin is the hero. And there was a whole other thing that Vin has been working on, and that is that they know there is a spy there. Because there are some creatures who are called Kandras, and they can basically consume the bodies of, it's usually humans, but it doesn't have to be, of anything that is dead, and they will become them, like they will look like them, and they will impersonate them. And Vin does have one of those Kendras, and she knows that there is another one around, that there is a spy, but she's been trying to figure out who that is, but she hasn't yet. But then Zane goes to her. This is like almost at the end of part 4, and he goes to her and he wants them to like run away together, but Vin is like, she was conflicted at first, but then she decided that she does love Elend and she's not gonna leave him. And I mean, I wish I cared, you know? I mean, I do care about Vin and I do care about Elend, but I really don't like them together, so that really meant nothing to me. And I know that I will never like them together, because if I just didn't care, I could start to care. But when I don't like a couple together, like I will never like them. So there's that. But she decides that she's not gonna be leaving with Zane, and then he gets really mad and they start fighting. And then Zane calls the Kendra like Vince Kendra, because there was actually his Kendra pretending to be Vince Kendra. So yeah, but Vin was actually very, like, she was friends with the Kendra. She was nice to him, because usually Kendras are just, you know, used and abused, I guess. And Vin wasn't like that. So the Kendra actually got attached to her, and like they were friends. And he had taught her some things about the Kendras and like how they work. And so she knew, and like he gave her permission to do that. She knew that she could like control him with, like, control his body with her elemency powers, because she's a Mistborn. And so she did that. Then she used like the Kendra's body to also fight Zane, and that was so iconic. And she killed Zane, which again was iconic. And then after that, because like I said, she realized that she just loved Elend, she ran to him and they got married. And Sazed was there, and they were talking about the Well of Ascension and about the prophecy. And now she's going to the Well of Ascension to do what needs to be done. And Elend is gonna go with her. And I mean, that all works out because they don't want them in the city anyway. And that is how part 4 ended. And again, we still have been focusing more on the politics than the actual fantasy. And I don't know if I have said this or if I have said this in a weekly reading vlog, but it's not that I don't like the politics. I do. I always like to learn about politics in fantasy or science fiction books. It's always very interesting to me. So I do like it, but I would be more excited about, the actual fantasy. But speaking of the politics, I feel really bad for Elend because, like I said, I do really like him. And he has just tried so hard to, try to save the city, try to save everyone, but also, be still an honest person. And that is why, he couldn't remain king, because he could have lied to people about, one specific law. If he had lied about that, he could have remained king. He could have, had the power to actually save them and protect them, but he was too honest, and so like he couldn't do it. And even though he was not king anymore, he was still trying to save everyone. And again, didn't really work out. And I just feel so bad for him because he is precious and I do really like him. And I mean, I do feel bad. I mean, not anymore because like they're together again, happy, whatever. But I did feel bad for him that he was sad about Vin, but not because they were apart. I just felt bad for him, as I also felt bad for Vin. But I now feel bad for me because I don't like them together and they're together. So, I mean, yeah. And I am just so excited now for this last 20% of the book. I mean, I'm excited for Vin's part with like the Well of Ascension and what she's gonna do, like to fulfill the prophecy and stuff. But I am definitely very nervous and very scared for everyone who's gonna stay in the city because they are like 100% ready to die and sure they will die in a fight. And like, I don't want them to because I like most of them. And so I am nervous, I am scared, but I am also very excited. I am so close to the end, and I will come back when I do finish it. Okay, so I have finished the book, and in these last two parts, the Kolos army invades the city, and Vin and Elend and another boy called Spook, they are out of the city. Like I said, they are looking for the Well of Ascension. But Vin realizes that they're not actually going towards the well because she can sort of feel like a connection to it. She can sort of feel the well calling to her, and she knows that she's not going in the right direction. And she realizes that the well is actually inside the city that they came from, and that Seize lied to her about where the well is. And there must be a reason as to why he lied, as to why he wanted them out of the city. And so she starts running back to the city, and since she can use their powers, she goes ahead, like running using the metal that allows her to be faster and more resistant and all of that. And Ellen and Spook, I mean, they're also making their way there, but obviously they're way slower. And so when Vin gets there, there is obviously a battle in the city, and she starts fighting, and she is like running out of medals. So there's only one thing that she can try. And she tries to control the Kolos like she managed to control the Kendra. And she realized that she can actually control them. So apart from making them like stop the attack, she makes them turn around and go attack Straff's army. And that was iconic. And like they went there and they killed like the people in charge, and obviously they killed Straff, which was so satisfying. And then the soldiers and the other people, they started surrendering, and they surrendered to Elend. So Elend became like the emperor, even though he's still not there, like he became the emperor, and Vin became the empress. And I mean, it was great that they won, obviously, but also we lost 3 people that I cared about. So that was very sad. And after the battle is done, Seize continues to study the text of like that guy that created the prophecy of the hero. And just like that guy was starting to doubt that the man he thought was the hero was actually the hero, Seize is also starting to doubt that Vin is actually the hero. And so he knows that she is going to try to find the well in the sea, and he goes after her. And he actually finds Marsh, who has been gone for a long time. Marsh, who was Kelsier's brother, he has been gone like since the beginning of the book, basically. And he finds Marsh, and Marsh is like, he stops him. But it was so weird, and let me see if I can find that. Marsh is like trying to stop him, and asks him like, what is going on? And Marsh says, I wish I knew. I wish I understood. And says like, understood what? Then it says, Marsh stood silently for a moment. Then he looked up, focusing his sightless spike heads on Sazed. I wish I understood why I have to kill you. And I was like, excuse me? You what now? And like, that's pretty much how that chapter ended. And I was like, I can't believe Sazed just died. Like, apart from losing those 3 characters that I like, but I'm like not devastated that they died. But if Sazed died, I would be devastated because he's one of my favorites. And I already lost Kelsier in the first book. So, so I was freaking out. I literally like sent this to my friend. I was like, I am not okay. I don't want to read anymore. But then actually Sazed did not die because someone else got there and like knocked Marsh out and helped Sazed. And meanwhile, Vin does find the well and Elend is there with her. And while they are trying to figure out, while Vin is trying to figure out what to do with the powers from the well, there is a sort of spirit that is in the mists and it comes out and it attacks Elend, like fatally, basically. And Vin decides that she's going to use the power from the well because if she takes the power, she becomes obviously very powerful, like the Lord Ruler was, very like godlike, and she would have the power to save Elend. But then she remembers that, the Lord Ruler, that like he was consumed with the power and stuff, and she decides not to do that. So she actually releases the power. But Elend doesn't die because he actually becomes an allomancer, a Mistborn, and he pretty much like burned the necessary metals to like heal himself. So that happened. And when Vin releases the power, she hears a voice saying, I'm free, or something like that. And I was just like, excuse me? And then we see that 2 weeks later, in the epilogue, like the mists are still killing people. Releasing the power from the well did not solve any of that. There is like the deepness. Everything is still wrong with the world, with the mist. People are still dying. And then Sazed finally finishes like decoding everything that the prophet wrote. And, at the end, he was always saying, and we already knew this, that the guy couldn't get to the Well of Ascension. Like, he couldn't get to the Well of Ascension. They had to stop him from getting to the Well of Ascension. But it never made sense because he said it himself, that he was pretty sure that he would release the power, he would not keep it to himself. So Sazed and Vin and me never understood why he couldn't get to the well, like if he wasn't gonna keep the power to himself. So it never made sense. But then we finally understand why he couldn't get to the well. And so the very last thing that guy wrote was, Alendi must not reach the Well of Ascension, for he must not be allowed to release the thing that is imprisoned there. Yeah, Vin just released something probably evil. And that is how the book ended. How the book actually ended was with Ellen saying, we're going to do what Kelsier taught us, Vin. We're going to survive, which was iconic of him. And yeah, let's go into my final thoughts. So starting off with the characters, I already talked about the deaths, how sad it was that we lost 3 people that I like, but at least we didn't lose Sazed, because then I would have been devastated. And there was also Straff's death, and that one was amazing. Loved that it happened. And then moving on, I still love Vin because she is incredible. She is an icon. She is absolutely perfect. And I love her so much. The only thing I don't like is her relationship with Elend, like I have said a million times, even though I do really like Elend. And I'm glad that he became the emperor. He got the power again because he's actually a good person who just wants to save the world and not just have the power for himself like his father and the other guy. So I am glad that he got it back. And it's cool that he's an allomancer as well, a Mistborn. I am excited to see what happens with that. And I love to continue to learn about the magic, the new metals that they were studying, the past, the prophecies. Obviously, also love seeing the magic being used, especially in the fight scenes, because that is just so fucking cool. And in a way, like I said for a while, I really wanted the like more fantasy part to happen, but at the same time, I like the anticipation because we knew that something was coming. We have like signs that something was coming. And I mean, I really liked that in a way. And I mean, when it came, I was just like, wow. And I still cannot get over the end of this book. Like, I am not okay. And I mean, the whole time I was thinking that I was gonna give it 4 stars because I mean, I was really enjoying it, but it wasn't, the best thing ever. But like, this end was so good. I'm gonna give it 4.5. And I am so excited to read book 3. And I mean, again, I'm excited and scared because I'm afraid that people are gonna die. And I am not prepared for that. But mostly I am very excited. And so, yes, this is everything for this reading vlog. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!